shake Mack Brown's hand, and for Mack, it's going to be a painful walk out to the middle of the field, 4 straight years. And Mack with some words for Bobby. Bobby saying, "You dang rascals are just the best team I've seen down here." We go down to Jack.
Well, Coach, this has got to be the best of the 4.
Yeah, it is. We felt coming in, I never said people want to say we had our best team. I said we had our strongest team coming into this game. And we played well tonight. Really, the execution, both sides of the ball was really outstanding. Our players deserve the credit.
Let's talk for a moment, though, about the job that Jason White did, because this kid's incredible to come back after 2 knee operations.
Well, hopefully now everyone realizes it. The guy's a great player. He's got a great head on his shoulders, got a great arm. You know, you couldn't ask for more. Jason White was just superb again today.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Jack. And ABC Sports Online at ESPN.com. Search ABC Sports. And a reminder, don't forget, the Falcons battle the Rams on Monday Night Football live at 9 Eastern. For Jack Arute and Gary Danielson, I'm Brent Musburger. So long, everybody. It was a record-breaking day for the Sooners from Oklahoma.
That move from Bevo that you heard was him getting worn out this afternoon by the Oklahoma Sooners, and a little fisticuffs or a little rumble before the game. A lot of emotion in the Red River rivalry, and the Sooners and Horns squaring off at midfield, and that would lead to what would turn into an Oklahoma romp. 65-13, the final score. The Oklahoma Sooners knock off the Texas Longhorns and win for the 4th consecutive year. Welcome to Big D. We are joined by Tracy Gordon and Adrian Cooper. Guys, what is there to say about this type of domination today? Tracy, we'll start with you first.
Well, I think Oklahoma displayed an awesome display of offense, the ability to go downfield with the ball, but mix in the run where they needed to. And then Mr. Mark Clayton, I'm changing his name to Yak for yards after the catch, because that's what he does. He gets yards after the catch, a big day for him.
Unbelievable day for Mark Clayton, who sets the record for yards in a single game in an Oklahoma uniform. 7 catches, 200 yards for Mark Clayton. He broke Corey Warren's record. Corey Warren set that against Texas. And Adrian, this offense is unstoppable almost.
Wow. Kudos to Bob Stoops and his coaching staff and the whole entire team. They played a whale of a ball game, and I can't see anyone stopping them going forward. Great offensive game.
I thought that Oklahoma, especially in the first half, they were really balanced. They ran the ball more than they threw it. In the second half, they came out to try to establish that line of scrimmage, and they only threw the ball 4 times in the second half with Jason White in the lineup, which is an unbelievable statistic. But, guys, there were receivers running wide open all afternoon. This Oklahoma football team reached
He had 5 yards on first down. He's running the ball. You can do whatever you want to do, and that's what the Sooners were able to do today.
Tracy, you talk about the defense. Vince Young, we'll talk more about Vince Young as the game goes along, but Vince Young's an explosive guy, but after he got a couple of runs in the second quarter, Oklahoma was able to collapse the pocket in on him, and really Texas offense could do nothing in the second half.
Well, I would agree. Vince Young's an awesome talent, but, you know, he was limited a little bit because he's a big scrambler. But when Oklahoma really keyed in on him, Dante Nicholson, Brandon Everidge, making those big plays, those fierce hits. And one thing that really hurt Texas, when you turn the ball over 6 or 7 times where they did, you're not going to win a football game.
Texas had 6 turnovers, as you talked about, and it was a Texas team that it's strange. We've given them the label of being soft, but Oklahoma has really pointed to this football game. They came out today and they dominated with just about everything that they had. The Cedric Benson fumble to me spoke volumes. Benson lost the ball in the third quarter, and it was clearly a fumble. The play had not ended, and he didn't even make an attempt to go after it.
We simply beat the will out of the Texas Longhorns. They didn't want to come out in the second half and play football. I saw a team out there that quit mentally as well as physically.
Both of you guys have been a part of this big rivalry, and there's so much emotion involved, and so many the plays swing on just a moment's notice. Does it amaze you that Oklahoma could thoroughly win a game like this? I mean, they did it 63-14 in 2000, and now they come back and do it 3 years later. But how do you beat Texas that bad? They've got great players over there.
Well, yeah, but you really take it off. You set the tone, because I was sitting there watching the game, and Oklahoma really hit Texas in the mouth. game is a football of intimidation. And Oklahoma was the aggressor, the intimidator. I mean, Oklahoma caused a lot of those turnovers. So they set the tone. And one thing I saw in the second quarter, it was a timeout, and the Texas players were really, really tired. So at that point, I say that they're done. They're whipped. Oklahoma really, really took it to them.
Have you seen a team in any better physical condition than this Oklahoma squad?
This is probably one of the best coach football teams I'd ever seen. College, high school, the pro level. He has these guys ready to go, and I can't see anyone beating them. And I said that several weeks ago, and I'm going to say it again. I cannot see anyone beating Oklahoma when they play the type of football that they play today.
It's hard to remember when it really was a game today, but let's go back and take a look at the pivotal play in today's contest. Oklahoma had a 14-7 lead. Texas was driving and about to score, and Vince Young fumbles the football, and Derek Strait, the Austin native, comes up with a big hit by Wayne Chambers, and that turned the ball game. Texas had some momentum, drove it right down the field. We're inside the 5-yard line preparing to score, and Strait, who came up with the interception on the first drive, is able to cover that fumble, and Oklahoma goes on from there. Very impressive fashion to beat Texas by a score of 65-13. Derek Strait, another guy that was a very key member of this game. We've got some game ball nominees a little bit later on to get into. Jonathan Jackson had a big day today, but Derek Strait, with that interception, they kind of tricked Chance Mock into thinking that Roy Williams was going to have man-on-man coverage at that side of the field, Tracy, and he stepped there and made the play.
I agree. Oklahoma's so prepared, and you see Oklahoma, they took away the run and made Texas try to pass the ball. When you get in that situation, you can set your corners and safeties back and roll the coverage and disguise their coverage, and then when the ball goes in the air, the safeties there to help. Derek Strait gets the interception, and then it's a big play for Oklahoma.
Very big play. And one more time, the receivers of Oklahoma. So much guts, so much ability to run with the ball after the catch.
Clayton was so impressive today. It was unbelievable. He was able to catch the ball and then make something happen with it afterwards. I hadn't seen very many receivers do that in a long time, and I just hope he can continue on making those types of plays.
Well, it was a Texas team that was #1 in the country in pass defense, but I don't think that they had been challenged by the likes of the competition that they faced today in Oklahoma. This Oklahoma offense could do whatever it wanted to do on the field today at any time. They ran the football almost out of sympathy, I think, for Texas. They wanted to establish that, so later on in the game, I think that they could feel like we could go back, we can run the clock. But in the passing game today, Jason White, 17 of 21, 290 yards. It's hard to imagine anyone having a better game than that.
Jason White had a phenomenal game. He was on today, and he could have done whatever he wanted to do out there. He could have had 300 yards if they left him in the game.
Yeah, I think he could have gone well over that, but Oklahoma chose not to try to throw the ball, and you know, in the second half, I think they knew that they had the game won in the second half and wanted to establish that run, and just really, they came out in the second half, a 6-minute, 40-second drive that went 12 plays and 80 yards, and that sealed Texas' fate at that point.
Well, I would agree, and one thing we talked about is the ability to run. Oklahoma has the ability to run when they need to. The big run that Ronaldo Works reeled off, Ronaldo Works is such a strong runner. He's the second strongest guy on the team. Benches 425 pounds, and that strength that he possesses when he runs was a big play, and that was the dagger in the heart, in my opinion, because Oklahoma ran the ball, they threw the ball. Jason White, I think, is the leading guy right now in the Heisman race, and again, I agree with Adrian and you. I don't see anyone beating them.
Yeah, the way they play today, Oklahoma's going to be a very difficult team to beat. Okay, we talked about, we have some nominees for our game ball. Let's take a look at the nominees right now. Oklahoma, really hard to separate again. Possibly could have nominated Derek Strait, but Jason White, Mark Clayton, and Jonathan Jackson were the nominees today. We're taking a look at some video right now. All right, they're telling me Mack Brown is set down for his press conference, and I know that fans from Oklahoma probably want to see a little bit of Mack Brown. So log on to Channel Oklahoma, channeloklahoma.com, and vote for who we should give our game ball to. But right now, let's hear from Mack Brown in the Texas locker room.
Gave them a ball at the 35. Then it started rolling. We didn't stop them before the half and didn't stop them in the second half. So they're a great football team. They're #1 team in the country. You can't do the things we did and have a chance to win the game. So the credit goes to them. And they played really, really well. Thought our guys tried. We just didn't play very well. Yes.
Stick Mike over there. Okay, here we go. Right, first question.
Coach,
can you compare that team you saw today at Oklahoma to the one that beat you in 2000? Is it a better team overall than the team in 2000?
I don't know. Both were really good. So they're well coached and they're really good.
Question on the front right.
Mac, at what point does this get embarrassing for you?
What?
Losing. At what point does this get embarrassing for you? Losing 4 straight years and then getting beaten so bad today?
Any time that we lose a game, I take it personal, and it's embarrassing for me. And our team can't play as bad as they did today if I've done my job, so I didn't do my job. I messed it up somehow. I don't know what I did wrong, but I got to go back and look at it and see why we played so poorly. Kids tried. They were ready to play, fought their guts out, and we played poorly. So that's the head coach's responsibility, and you can't put it anywhere else. So
We had a question on the front left.
At any point, did you consider returning Chance Mock into the lineup?
No, Vince did a great job and was moving the ball. And the turnovers, the first turnover at the goal line, he was competing, and that puts us right in the middle of the ball game if we score at that time. And the second one was an absolute freak. The ball's tipped, and Jonathan Jackson makes a good play and runs it back for a touchdown. But I thought Vincent played really well throughout the day, considering he came off of a sore ankle. And, we put him in the game in a third series because he was more mobile again, and gosh, he made plays against great defense and looked like it was going to give us a chance to win with his feet, and then we just turned the ball over too much.
Question here on the middle front.
Coach, that fumble near the goal line, how devastating was that Young's fumble?
Oh, that is a killer, but it's early enough in the game it shouldn't have been. We've got to come back and overcome that stuff, and it cost us points, but it's no different than like Arkansas. We turned the ball over going in. We turned the ball over at the 7. We turned the ball over at the 35. I mean, you just can't do that against it. We had to play in a position where we protected the ball, and we had to get to White, and we didn't get to him. I think he was 14 of 17 the first half. We got to him a couple of times the second half, but the game was over at that point, and I thought Jason played a great game, he and Clayton, and we didn't do a good job stopping Clayton in the first half.
We got a question, Chip, right here on the front.
Coach, I know you'd made a priority out of the zone pass coverage and stopping the, not giving up the big plays. Can you just talk about that and where that is at this point?
Yeah, we didn't play well on defense today. When we blitzed them, they hit us, and when we played zone, they hit us. So we didn't do anything well on defense today. Didn't knock a ball loose, didn't cover them. And again, we can't play that poorly without it being our responsibility.
We have a question on the front or the back, right-hand side.
Mac, so many questions need to be answered. Where do you start?
Well, you start over because we played so poorly, and they tried. So, I mean, that goes back to coaching. And so what we've got to do is we were going to start the season over regardless because we've had 2 really difficult games in a row. And we're at midseason with our 6th game, so we'll go back tomorrow and go back and correct the mistakes we made today, understanding this is tough. I told the guys to handle it. I know they don't like it. It's a tough position for us to be in. It's a game that's really important to us. It's a game that's really important to our fans, and we didn't play well in it. So what we've got to do is go back and try to get back to 5-2 next week against Iowa State on the road.
All right, Mack Brown is looking for answers. I guess he didn't know if he coached a good game or not. So Mack Brown will try to figure out what went wrong today in a 65-13 loss to the Sooners. Let's get you updated again on the players where you can log on to Channel Oklahoma and vote for our game ball giveaway today. We have 3 nominees. Jason White. What an afternoon for Jason White. Efficient, 17 of 21, 290 yards and 4 touchdown passes. Certainly did not hurt his chances for the Heisman Trophy. Had a very, very outstanding game today. Also, Mark Clayton, 7 catches for Clayton, 200 yards, got a 5-yarder that was able to break Corey Warren's all-time receiving mark for 1 game. And Mark Clayton, what can you say about him? A couple of touchdown catches. This guy is phenomenal after the catch, just competes like none other. Jonathan Jackson was key in stopping Vince Young. Did a good job at the defensive end position and also returned an interception for a touchdown in the first half. Those are your 3 players. Go to channeloklahoma.com and vote. And we will have those results coming up a little bit later. We are just getting started. We'll have Bob Stoops' reaction from the locker room. Mike Stoops will drop by live on set. So keep it right here, and we'll have plenty more from Big D. Tracy Gordon, Adrian Cooper, and Mark Rogers. We're back with more right after this. Welcome back to Dallas. The Oklahoma Sooners 65-13 winners over the Texas Longhorns, and I think that play speaks volumes more for the matchup on the sidelines than anything else. Oklahoma schemed well. Texas thought it had Roy Williams in man coverage on the short side of the field. Derek Strait comes back. Brandon Everidge blitzes on the safety blitz. He's standing right there for Chance Mock to throw in the ball. That's great coaching.
Well, yeah, it's a big play because you really set the tone for the game. And Oklahoma coaches do a great job of game planning and getting their players in the position to play. And I've never seen a team that looks as knowing what they do on the field, Oklahoma. I mean, it's an awesome job of the coaching staff.
They've done a great job, and it almost reminds you of the play that Chris Sims threw it to Rocky Kalmus in the 2000 game when it got out of hand, same side of the field, and Rocky Kalmus knew exactly where Chris Sims was going to go with that ball, stood in front of it, and went in for a touchdown. But, you know, as much as we could talk about the defense being great, you got to talk about the offense because it was just as great. Passing efficiency today of Jason White, for what the kid has gone through adversity-wise, tearing both the ACLs in each knee, he is so savvy in the pocket. He'll make a move to the right, a move to the left. He just flings it out there. I mean, that's got to be great preparation as well.
I think Jason White's going to be the first quarterback to win the Heisman Trophy who had 2 surgically repaired knees.
Yeah. I mean, and today there was a great play where they ran a little bit of a quarterback sneak with Jason White, and he ran it for 11 yards. I think they've been saving that for Texas. All right, we will take a look at the highlights of this game, and Coach Stoops, I know, will be in the locker room here pretty quick, and we'll go to that press conference. And the game started off for Texas. The play that we talked about, Chance Mock drops back the pass, is picked off by Derek Strait. Strait returns it to put Oklahoma in solid field position 6 yards away. Derek Strait from Austin, a senior from Austin, ends his career never losing to the University of Texas. Ronaldo Works then takes the handoff and established what would be a Sooner dominance on the ground today. Ronaldo Works scores the opening touchdown. Sooners have a 7-0 lead. Antonio Perkins, who has been so dangerous in the special teams, though, coughs it up on this punt, and that gives Texas good field position. And enter Vincent Young. For the first time, Vince Young comes on the field, and Cedric Benson is able to punch it into the end zone. Texas Longhorns have tied up the Sooners at 7. Oklahoma, though, on its next possession, J.D. Runnels in the flat, wide open. Jason White touches it to him, and Runnels waltzes into the end zone for a touchdown. 14-7, the score there. And then what a play here. Vince Young is hit. Jonathan Jackson somehow comes up for the football and takes it the other way for a touchdown, and Oklahoma is rolling. But Vince Young is going to be a special player at the University of Texas. He eluded the rush and then works his way into the end zone. Texas' second touchdown of the afternoon, but the extra point is no good. So the Sooners lead is 27-13, and then the onslaught from Jason White. Will Peoples wide open in the corner of the end zone. Then Jason White, again, a screen pass to Jawan Rankins. Rankins is also in for the touchdown. And the coup de grace, Ronaldo Works, takes off on a cross-country jaunt. Oklahoma up near 200 yards rushing on the afternoon. Don't have the official statistics. And that would be all she wrote. Oklahoma salts it away, 65-13, the win. Oklahoma is a perfect 5-0. And I think last week they had 59 votes in the Associated Press poll out of a possible 65. And I don't know who the other 6 guys are going to vote for next week, but I'd be surprised if it wasn't Oklahoma.
Well, I agree. Oklahoma, this is a stepping stone for them to set the pace for the next part of the season. They have some big games coming up down the road, but this right here really cements where they want to be going into, you know, the bowls and hopefully the national championship.
Next couple of weeks, you have Missouri coming up next week, which can be dangerous with Brad Smith, but they have proven not to be as good of a football team as they were possibly a year ago. But it's after this, how do you reel in your teams? It's almost like you don't want them to have so much confidence that they get overconfident. What do you say to the team in the locker room after a game like this?
Well, it's going to be really tough. You got to give them credit first. They played a whale of a ball game. However, as a coach, you have to be a devil's advocate, and you also have to pick out some of the things that they didn't do so well. And also, I think they need to get the tight ends more involved. The tight ends, obviously, threw the ball once to the tight end. He dropped it. Outside of that, offensively, I can't think of anything that you can really say.
Adrian stepping up as a former tight end, wanting to get the... Now, Bubba Moses dropped a sure touchdown pass, so...
Yeah, he dropped a short touchdown, but you know what? I've dropped many of those too myself, so I can understand.
They may save the tight end. They didn't need the wrinkle of the tight end today because the outside receivers. Can you talk a little bit about Texas coverage scheme? Because it seemed to me they dropped back a lot of guys, but Oklahoma was able to find the holes in that zone.
Texas played soft the whole game. They never once crowded the line of scrimmage with the safeties and the defensive back, and challenged our receivers. You can't win if you allow the offense, our offense, OU's offense, to just step back and do whatever they want to do, run free.
Tracy, as a defensive player, if you don't have that aggressive approach where you're attacking all the time, does that get frustrating?
Oh, yes, it does. And again, it goes back to coaching. I mean, because as a defense, you have to attack. And I agree with Adrian. Texas set back on their heels, and they let Oklahoma dictate the game to them. And they just played soft. And that set the tone, and that's why Oklahoma was able to march up and down the field. And Oklahoma just did what they wanted to do to Texas and made them like it.
Yeah, that's right. It's hard to talk about the game without saying that Oklahoma could have had, I think Oklahoma could have reached the 70s very easily. Obviously, if Texas was able to score a little bit more in the third quarter, I think Oklahoma would have been maybe threatened at that point and felt like they needed to throw the ball more. But third quarter play selection, Oklahoma throws the ball 4 times, runs it 15 times, and I think that establishes dominance. I mean, if you can run the ball that many times, you only have to throw it 4. Jason White, 17 of 21 on the afternoon. That's just very impressive numbers.
Yeah, I would agree. And again, just setting the pace of the game, and Oklahoma dictated what they wanted to do to Texas. They set the tone for the whole afternoon. And like I say, Oklahoma did what they wanted to. They could have scored 100 points on Texas if they'd wanted to. So, you know, again, awesome display of offense. And I want to take my hat off to Chuck Long. Masterful game plan and executing plays. They did a great job.
You're right. Mike Stoops is already here, so we'll take a timeout. We'll come back with more. You're watching Channel 5's post-game coverage of Oklahoma's rout of Texas, 65-13.
Began.
Welcome back to Dallas. Sooner fans reveling in the glory of a 65-13 win over the Texas Longhorns, and we're joined by Mike Stoops. And Coach, just got to say congratulations. What a performance today.
Thank you, Mark. It was a great day. Kids played really, really well. I thought our defense most of the day contained Vincent Young. He got loose a couple times. He's a great athlete and a great player, but overall we contained him. The things you deal with Vincent are a lot different than the things you're used to dealing with Chris Sims and Major Applewhite, some throwers. So when they have throwers in there, then you have to deal with all those wide receivers they have. So there's a trade-off there, and that's something that I think they're trying to balance right now till they get comfortable with Vincent in the throwing game. It limits their great wide receivers. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there, but overall I thought our team played really well.
There's been some wrinkles. Talk a little bit about Derek Strait's interception, because it was a deal where Roy Williams has lined up his expected man coverage on him, and then Derek Strait goes back and it makes a great play.
Well, I thought that play set the tempo of the day, and Derek is 3 years in a row, I think he's come up with big plays in this game, or 4. Has always played well in this game. I think he takes it very personal in his own way. He's never, is very boisterous in any way or whatever, but he takes the game very personal. He knows it's a tough matchup with Roy Williams, and he prepares really well. And has meant so much to this team for 4 years. And what he's overcome is, as a coach, those are just, unbelievable times. And for him not to be a part of this game for, next year is really going to feel strange to not have him, Brandon, Matt, Michael Thompson. I actually had those guys play together. They came in together. They're going to leave together, and that's a special secondary group, so I'm happy for all those guys.
And Strait not only had the interception, but a couple of fumble recoveries. And what more can you say about him? Just words are few, but play speaks volumes on the field.
He's played with a banged-up leg all year too, Mark, and has never been 100% yet. And you know how those leg injuries are just very nagging. And he felt good coming into today and had another great game.
How about Jonathan Jackson?
JJ, our whole defensive line is probably the biggest difference in this football team than at any time since we've been here. They're very dynamic. They can make a lot of big plays. They create a lot of pressure on quarterbacks and put a lot of pressure on people. Jonathan Jackson made an unbelievable play, and it's always great to score on defense.
In the second half, you guys did a great job of containing Young. What did you talk about to your team at halftime? And I know you talked a little bit to defensive ends, and linebackers are also involved in not letting him out of the pocket.
Well, what's so bad about the 60-yard run is we're supposed to have 2 guys on him on that play, and somebody missed their assignment, and we left the end on him by himself, and that's not a great matchup. We're not very smart if we put our ends all the time on him by ourselves. We're supposed to have 2 guys on him. Somebody missed an assignment. He got loose. So we were just more disciplined in our run responsibilities. In pass, we wanted to control rush him, knowing that if we kept him in the pocket and make him be accurate with the throws was going to be difficult for him. So we just controlled our rushes a little bit better, made some adjustments at halftime, how we were going to use our rush lanes.
All right, Sooners win 65-13. We need to take a short time out. We'll come back with more live coverage from Big D. You're watching Channel 5 postgame show. Welcome back. We're visiting with Mike Stoops here after the Sooners 65-13 win over Texas. What is it like just to experience that big of a victory today? I saw you kind of come over to the get a glass of water in the third quarter, and you had a big smile on your face and looked like you're just overcome by satisfaction.
Well, there is. Just the way our team executed today. We went in. They challenged us a little bit early in pregame, and our guys kind of boned up, and that was a good setting for us. So it's very gratifying to watch our teams mature, and this team mature. They have a great focus and a way about them. It's a lot different than last year, and that's something we talked a lot about. We grew up, I think, a lot last year in some tough games, and we were good last year. We didn't play as well as we are right now. We're playing consistent football week in and week out, and that's the difference. We're not fluctuating defensively, and those were big emphasis with us, playing on the road, not having big dips, and just being consistent all year.
Does that pregame stuff kind of get your energy going a little bit?
Oh, it was. It's the best. This game is there's just no words that can really describe it. Being a part of it now for 5 years, it's and friends. Being able to experience it, that are friends of ours that experienced it the first time, they say it's the greatest thing they've ever seen. So to be a part of it and to be on the winning end the last 4 years is truly special.
Where do you go from here? Consistency, you talked about it just a second ago about how consistent this football team has been. There's not been a dip this year. What do you have to tell your team to get ready to play next week after such a big high today?
Well, we have the advantage of playing Missouri next year, a team that really embarrassed us defensively, and their quarterback ran pretty much up and down the field on us last year, and that's something our guys will take very personal. We're going to have to play well. He's a great athlete. Again, we're playing, so there'll be some carryover what we did this week to help us next week. And again, our guys take that stuff very personal, and again, felt embarrassed by the way we played at Missouri last year, and that's no discredit to them. They had a great plan, and Brad Smith had a great game against us.
All right, Mike, we really appreciate your time. Want to thank you for stopping by again. 65-13. Congratulations. What a performance.
Thank you.
All right. Mike Stoops, co-defensive coordinator for the Sooners. We're going to take a quick timeout, and we will come back. We'll go to the locker room and hear from Bob Stoops live. We'll have OU player reaction. We'll go back to the studio and also have some comments on the Oklahoma State-Kansas State game. The Cowboys also winners today. Back with more from Big D right after this.
Motion on the backs as an H-back. Hughes works to stretch to the left, and he slashes 40. 35 goes for the middle of the end zone. In a foot race, works, goes for the end zone. Got it, touchdown, Oklahoma. 54 yards for Ronaldo Works. He's now over.
That's the final nail in the coffin for the Texas Longhorns. Ronaldo Works, great afternoon for Works. 15 carries, 112 yards. 54-yard was the long, 7.5 yards per carry average for Ronaldo Works. Oklahoma rushes the ball today in very impressive fashion. 47 rushes, 222 yards. And, of course, we've talked about Jason White's wonderful afternoon, 17 of 21, 290 through the air for 4 touchdowns. And I think we have seen the emergence of Mark Clayton as one of the premier playmakers in the entire country. Clayton today with 8 catches, 190 yards, and a score. Clayton breaks the record, as we talked about earlier, for receiving yards in a single game by Corey Warren. Did that by 3 yards today with his 190. But what an impressive performance by Mark Clayton, who has established himself, I think, as the leader early on this year. Brandon Jones was the go-to guy in terms of catches. But now Mark Clayton with 8, and the Sooners have several other players with 2 catches and 1 catch this afternoon. Jason White spreads the wealth as well as any quarterback in the country. All right, Bob Stoops in the OU locker room. Let's go to him right now. Bob Stoops on this game today.
I'd like to compliment these great players here with me tonight. Great players in the locker room. Proud of the character, the way they compete, prepare through the week. It's just a joy to coach them. And I also want to compliment our assistant coaches. I get way too much credit, way too much focus on me. These guys do an incredible job having these guys prepared. They do the work and have them prepared, ready to execute on, on the Saturdays. Just a great job and fortunate to work with all of them. And I always want to compliment Texas. I'm sure they feel they'd like to have played better. Way too much negative press, I think, back and forth with two programs that are very good. Coach Brown and his staff always do an excellent job. They've been winning 9, 10, 11, a bunch of games every year. That's not easy to do. So again, we have respect for Texas, did coming in and still do. So outside of that.
Okay, Coach, we got a question right up here on the middle, right side.
Hey, Bob and guys, congratulations. Offensively, it was almost picture perfect in the passing game. Bob, talk about your game plan and why that passing game really clicked today. Or you can pass it to Jason if you want to.
Jason answer. What was how did it look to you, Jason? What were we trying to do and how it worked?
They gave us a lot of man, and our receivers worked hard all week to get open on man, and it paid off today. And the offensive line did a great job up front. Just gave me all the time in the world, like they always do. So, I guess I wanted to bump up their eating a little bit this week, maybe Red Lobster or something. So, but the coaches got us in a perfect situation, and they got us prepared for the game, and we executed it today.
On the front left-hand side.
Bob, I would like to ask you about the start of the year. We were all making a big deal about your defense and the talent they have. How about this offense? First time in school history, your team scored 50 points or more in 4 straight games.
Offense is incredibly talented. We don't care in our camp who gets what attention. You know that. We can't dictate who people want to write about. We know our offense has excellent talent. Said all along, I think we've got the best receiver group that we've had in our time. I think we have our best offensive line, and both why that matters is our running game and our passing game are really complementing one another, back and forth right now, keeping people off balance. And Jason there isn't anybody in the country playing better than him right now, and how he's playing at quarterback to direct all of it. So all the guys they have a lot of talent on offense.
We got a question on the front right.
Well, Bob, going the opposite end from what Bob asked you, your defense was outstanding today. 6 of your touchdowns were directly or indirectly related to the takeaways your defense had. Did you think your defensive unit would be as stifling against Texas's offense like it was?
Well, I mean, how do you? I want to say this to say this in a. Because I don't want Texas writers saying I'm speaking arrogantly. Our defense is pretty good. It's proven. Week in and week out, we've played awfully well. We forced turnovers in other games, so why would we not come in here expecting to force someone's hand and create turnovers again and create big plays for us? It isn't like we haven't done it. So sure, we expected to play well.
On the left-hand side towards the rear.
Coach, how much easier is it on the coaches when the kids go out and force that many turnovers? How easy is that? How much does that make it easier to coach during the game?
It's never easy to coach. I think I'm as wore out today as I've ever been. I had to take about 8 aspirin during the game, so it's never easy. Forcing turnovers, creating big plays on offense, defense, it's exciting. It's part of the game, and fortunately we have guys that stepped up and made them.
Front right-hand side.
Bob, was there any question about you using a timeout toward the end of the half and being aggressive and trying to get another score in?
Was there any question?
Well, whether to push it and do that or just kind of let the half end?
Well, no, we were attacking for sure. I mean, that was pretty obvious. We did everything we could to score a touchdown at the end of the half.
In calling a timeout instead of just letting it go?
We didn't have any. When we got that, we didn't have any timeouts left. No, we didn't have any. Believe me, or we would have, you know. So, and I blew it on that third down, which we still made the field goal. We should have just spiked it, and then we wouldn't have had to rush, you know, to get the. So I kind of blew that. But we ran. We worry on that hurry up field goal, and we made it.
We got a question in the back.
Bob, this is for you. Coming out of halftime, the drive you put together in the second half to start out the second half, was that, how big was that? It was still somewhat of a close game for you.
Why don't we let one of these guys answer it? Ronaldo, you had a lot of big runs in that opening drive of the second half. Why is that big, though, coming out of the locker room? And I think it used up 7 minutes off the clock. You had a lot of big runs, and what's that like for the players?
I just think Coach Stoops always tells us to come out and, you know, we got to attack, keep the pressure on the team, you know, coming out of half. And we try not to get down and lose focus. So he, you know, we were just fortunate enough to make plays and keep it going.
Coach, we got a question up here on the front right hand side.
Big difference in the ball game as Oklahoma is able to come out of the locker room and really milk that clock. They take up almost half of the time in the third quarter, and a dejected Texas team coming down the ramp into the third quarter was dejected even more after that drive, and I think realized its fate was sealed from a very, very good Oklahoma team. All right, that was a little bit earlier. Let's go right now live to the locker room where we have more player reaction from the Oklahoma Sooners.
Make for the defense when you go out on the field and have to get a stop against the other team.
Well, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, whenever they can come out in the second half and have a 7-minute drive, and well, we had that turnover, Texas moving the ball. They got the ball on the 3-yard line. They drove like 85 yards. I mean, it does so much whenever we can get over there and get a rest, and they can just move the ball up and down the field on people. I mean, it gets us going on the sidelines. We enjoy watching them do well, and I think it makes us play better. I mean, the more rest the more we can be off the field, we love that. I mean, we like to get on and get off and let them take up most of the time. I mean, the better they play, it seems like the better we play. So, I mean, a lot of our success, I think, is attributed to their success.
We got Wes Sims representing the O-line. Doesn't anybody have any O-line questions?
Coach, I've got to ask one question of Mark because of the fact that Mark's the new record holder at Oklahoma for yardage in a game. And Mark, there's so many great receivers that have played at Oklahoma. What do you feel about being the record holder? And you still have a year and a half to go, so you can re-break it if you want, if you get the opportunity.
I mean, I just go out and work hard and do my best, play my best, and everything I do, I try to do it my best. And I mean, whatever happens, it happens. And I mean, I'm just blessed to have this opportunity to be with a great staff and some great friends, and I don't know, this is awesome.
Coach? Yeah. Coach, how much do you think you separate yourselves from the rest of the country? And considering how the BCS is set up, how important is it for you to continually have impressive wins to impress voters, the computer rankings, that kind of thing?
We spend no time with that. I don't know. I won't spend any time tonight or tomorrow thinking about it. We put all our efforts into being prepared the next week to play. And when we play, we play with a lot of pride, and we want to be prepared and ready to compete. And that's what we focus on. And so the other we have no control over. So why would we spend any time, worrying about it?
Okay, we're going to take 2 more questions, and then we're going to break and go to the auxiliary tent. We got a question, Mike, here, and then in the red shirt over on the left-hand side.
Bob, since Brodney wouldn't brag on his hit down at the goal line, and could you talk about that in this?
All right, that's Bob Stoops from the locker room, or actually the interview tent, which is set up right over here to our west. Game ball giveaway. You have logged in to vote, and so far the numbers are not surprising. Jason White is in the lead, but still plenty of time to do that before we give away our game ball. So go to channeloklahoma.com, and vote for Jonathan Jackson, Mark Clayton, or Jason White to receive that game ball. Now let's take a look at some of the stats and how this game broke down and the total domination of Oklahoma today in the 65-13 win. Overall stats, you see that Oklahoma just was able to dominate on the stat sheet as well as the scoreboard. Oklahoma runs up big numbers on offense and holds Texas pretty much in check. Oklahoma 363 through the air, 222 on the ground. Almost 600 yards of offense against a pretty good Texas team. Quarterback breakdown. Vince Young, while he was pretty impressive, Oklahoma was able to stop him in the second half, and clearly the edge here goes to Oklahoma. Jason White, 17 of 21, 290 yards, 4 touchdown passes, and again, he spreads the wealth to his wide receivers. 9 different receivers catch passes today for Jason White. Vince Young, a solid afternoon rushing the football, and through the air, 4 of 9 with 1 interception. Young did make a couple of mistakes. He threw the 1 pick, and he fumbled down on the goal line. That really was a very costly turnover for Texas, and it gave the momentum solely over to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma really never looked back from there. All right, here's the wide receivers. Texas came in with all the hype, all the great wide receivers that have been highly recruited. Roy Williams, 7 catches for 89 yards. And he concludes his career against Oklahoma without really ever having a big day that most would have anticipated when he came out of Odessa Permian. On the other hand, Mark Clayton from Arlington Martin High School in the Dallas area, 8 catches for 190 yards, and the touchdown, his longest, being 47 yards. But Peoples, Rankins, Runnels, Works, Hickson, Jones, Wilson, Kewan Jones. It goes down the line. Oklahoma has great depth in that receiving core. Let's look at the rushing numbers. Texas has been able to establish the run against teams that, just for the most part, are not very good. They've had a lot of success with Cedric Benson. He rushed for over 1,500 yards last season, but against Oklahoma, Benson has not been a factor. He averaged 1.8 yards per carry, 21 yards today net for Cedric Benson, who did have the 1 touchdown. Works and Kewan Jones, 112 for Ronaldo, 81 for Kewan Jones. We have plenty more to come here in Dallas, and we will hear from Kerry Zamora. We'll also hear from Brent Skarkey in studio on the Oklahoma State-Kansas State game, and much, much more. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to Big D. What makes this game part of maybe the greatest game in college football each year is the Texas State Fair, the great picture here at the Texas State Fair. And what word am I looking for? Flavor. Kerry Zamora has the flavor of the fair. Kerry, take it away.
Oh, Mark, yes, I do. I tell you what, the OU-Texas matchup is so much more than a big game. It is an all-out event. These fans say it all. You may think there's a lot of pride out here in the state fairgrounds and in the stadium during game time, but hey, you haven't seen pride in the parking lot. Fans bring their homes on wheels all the way here to Dallas.
It's great. It's convenient. You're right here on the fairgrounds. You can probably throw a rock and hit the stadium and just walk right over and come right back and just come and go as you like.
All right, you guys, come on now.
Maybe the R in RV stands for relaxed, or maybe these Sooner fans had a longer night than most. Could be they have all the comforts of home right at their fingertips.
Everything, we're self-contained. Everything we need is right here on these wheels.
Too bad their wheels are parked right next to some Longhorns. The rivals have a pact to keep a happy home.
They promised not to talk trash to us, and we promised not to talk trash to them after the game.
After all, it really is about experiencing the game.
This is pretty much the tour, you know. We don't have much. Shannon, are you dressed? No.
Can't get any more real than eating, sleeping, even showering just a stone's throw from the stadium.
It's a lot more fun. You get the camaraderie of talking to the other fans, and the whole night is all night long.
And the festivities do go all night long, all day long. When you have a micro TV VCR, why not tailgate and party till the teams go home?
I think it's just part of the football fan type. You want to have as much of it as you possibly can.
Well, I tell you what, whether they stayed in an RV or in a hotel or drove up today for the game, all Sooner fans extremely excited about the big win tonight. Mark, we'll send it back to you now to finish the show.
All right, thanks a lot, Kerry. I think Oklahoma fans will be happy if they're going home in a covered wagon tonight after the 65-13 win. All right, we're going to take a look at our game ball results. Thank you very much for logging in and voting at channeloklahoma.com. Jason White is the winner. He gets our game ball. 52% of the votes go to Jason White, 41% to Mark Clayton, and 7% goes to Jonathan Jackson. Not much defense there, but Jason White, 17 of 21 again on the afternoon, 290 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Jason White, what can you say about the guy? And he has certainly put himself in position for the Heisman Trophy, and I think much bigger things on down the line. Oklahoma's passing offense clicked today in a very impressive fashion. And the Sooners put up 14 points in the first, 23 in the second, 14 in the third, and 14 in the fourth. And it's a pretty sweet game ball, guys, huh?
Yeah, that's
Tracy
very
Gordon,
nice.
Adrian Cooper back with us. What a performance. Again, bottom line, Jason White, so calm, so cool, so collected in the pocket.
Well, I would agree with that. He's so cool. He's so calm under pressure. And you can see him checking through his receiver, 1, 2, 3, and finding the open receiver. And again, when you got Mr. Yak, Mark Clayton there, it makes it easy because you throw a pass and he'll take it to the house.
You got some nice headgear there, Adrian. I like that.
Well, yeah, this was given to me a couple years ago, and it's fitting to wear today.
Yeah, you're undefeated in that hat, I think.
Exactly.
But as a receiver yourself, what does it mean to a group of receivers that he does go through his progressions? Because you see guys real frustrated all the time down the field, like, hey, I'm open here. But Jason White, I think those guys feel that he's going to get the ball to them if they're open. That has to do a lot for their confidence.
As a receiver, you always want to work with a quarterback who's going to look the field over. And I think the kids right now, they're going to run their routes, and everyone's going to give it 110% because they might be the guy that gets the ball.
You can see that competition out there, and those guys, they play hard. All right, coming up, Missouri next week. Brad Smith comes to town, pretty good runner. Mike Stoops said they'll be motivated because he embarrassed them last year.
Well, yes, Mr. Smith put some serious work in on Oklahoma defense last year, and those guys have pride, and I know they'll want to stop him. And they got a little practice today with Vince Young, so hopefully they can, get everything together. And the number one thing today, and it'll be true for next week, you have to be able to tackle. Break down, make the tackle.
What's scary about this offense is that last year, the Sooners' running game didn't really click until Texas. They get a big rushing day today. They go over 200 yards. With the passing game the way it is right now and the running game looking like it will continue to get better as the season goes along, what do you do to defense this team?
It's going to be a nightmare. For any team that plays OU going forward, you're going to have to stop the run. You're going to have to stop the pass. You're going to have to stop the defense, which you can't. So it's going to be a nightmare. The only chance you have right now is to come out and throw some trick plays.
Real quick, right now today, this thought was going through my mind as I was walking out the Cotton Bowl. Is this the best OU team in the last 50 years that you guys have seen?
Well, I mean, it would rank up there. I like to think the 87 team, we played Miami in the Orange Bowl, was probably the best, and there'll be arguments about that. But, in today's game, they have the ability to throw, run, and special teams didn't have any big plays, but they didn't have any mishaps. And another thing is the turnover stat. And 99.9% of the time, if you turn the ball over against a good team, you will lose. And Oklahoma doesn't do that very much.
No fumbles lost this year for the Sooners. Best team?
Pretty darn good team.
No, I think that we'll see it. It's got to wait till the end of the year to see where it stacks up. But right now, it looks like as good as any Oklahoma team I've ever seen. Guys, great job. Thanks a lot for stopping by. We'll see you again soon. And make sure you watch us on Sunday Night Sports Extra. We'll have a great show planned for you. We'll preview Oklahoma against Missouri. We'll preview Oklahoma State against Texas Tech. Should be a great show. I want to thank everybody for logging on and voting at channeloklahoma.com. And we will see you tomorrow night on Sports Extra.